Hey everyone, let's go over the Tohatsu 10-hour break-in period for the 2022 15 horsepower outboard. Ensure if you don't have the paper manual that you download the correct manual from the Tohatsu website. So this motor came from the factory with gear oil in the lower unit, but engine oil is not in the motor. I added oil until it reached the full indicator, being very careful not to overfill it. And then, without the gas line attached and the battery still disconnected, I pulled on the manual starter rope a few times. I read this is supposed to help distribute the oil around the motor before actually starting it the first time. So here's the page in the manual that describes the 10-hour break-in routine. First, per the note on the page, during break-in, run the outboard motor at varied RPMs less than the specified engine speed. And break-in must be conducted under load, in the water, in gear, with the propeller installed. Now another note is if anything does not seem right at any time during this process, stop when it's safe. Call your dealer or support and let them know as soon as you can. The table columns are the amount of time to follow the procedure in that column from where you left off from the previous column. Now the first column is the procedure from the 1 up to 10-minute duration. So that means the second column is the procedure to follow from the 10-minute point up to the 2-hour duration for a total of 1 hour and 50 minutes. The third column is the procedure for 2 hours up to 3 hours for a total of a 1-hour procedure. And then the fourth column is a 7-hour procedure for a grand total of 10 hours. After finishing the fourth column, the gear and engine oil must be replaced. So see your manual for instructions. So my wife joined me for the outing on a 39-degree day. We had to break about 50 feet of ice to get the boat out on the lake. That was fun. Anyway, I followed the steps in the manual to start the motor. And by the way, it started with the first button push, but quickly died. I had it on idle. I moved the throttle just a bit above idle, and the motor started right up. And then I brought it back to idle again. So I started my stopwatch, and I put the boat in forward at its lowest throttle setting and drove the boat out that speed for 10 minutes. After that, that completes the first column. At the 10-minute mark, we moved to the second column, so I increased the throttle to just less than half throttle and varied the speed every few minutes. The varied speed process is not explained in detail. You can research the break-in process for motors if you want guidance on when to change speeds. When you're on the water, sometimes the conditions dictate the process somewhat. But I ran the motor at various speeds from idle to just less than half a throttle for the 1 hour and 50-minute procedure until we reached 2 hours of total break-in time. After the 2-hour mark was complete, we moved to the third column, the 2 to 3 hour procedure. Now in this procedure, we varied the throttle position every few minutes, always less than 3/4 of the full throttle position. My wife and I were a bit confused by the speed procedures though. We weren't sure if the instructions meant to run 9 minutes below 3/4 of a throttle and 1 minute at full, or run 10 minutes at 3/4 of a throttle and 1 minute at full throttle. We opted for the 10 to 1 minute ratio rather than the 9 to 1 minute ratio. I suggest you call support before you get on the water for their recommendation. As an example, at 2 hours and 10 minutes into the 10-hour process, we ran full throttle until 2 hours and 11 minutes into the full process. Then we went back down to varied speeds, never more than 3/4 of a full throttle for another 10 minutes, and so on until we hit the 3-hour mark. By the way, I'd love to hear your expert thoughts, so please comment below. As we started winding up our day, we came to the fourth column. Again, this is a 7-hour process. We ran at 3/4 of a throttle most of the time, but we varied our speeds every few minutes for 10 minutes. Then at the 10-minute mark, we would go full throttle for 2 minutes. And I got to tell you, that 2 minutes seemed to go by so fast. The motor ran great, and it was a lot of fun. So we completed 2 hours of the final stage that first day for a total of 5 hours, leaving 5 more to go. Then I spent the next couple of evenings after work finishing the 10 and 2-minute routine. So that's really it. Now it's your turn. Get your boat out on the water and enjoy your new motor. And please subscribe, and thank you for watching.